Hey everyone, Brian Zane here with the Royal Rumble Review. The show just wrapped up, and brother, have I got some notes. Let's start with the pre-show match. It was the Dudleys, the Ascension, Mark Henry and Jack Swagger, and the unlikely tag team of Damian Sandow and Darren Young. I was very confused as to why that pairing even existed, and more so why they didn't take the fall. I don't know why the Dudleys had to take the fall in this matchup. I think the Dudleys need to find a better agent, because the way they've been portrayed and booked since coming back has been nothing short of a disappointment. I'm not saying they should run roughshod over the tag division, but given their history and given their stature in the business, they should, I don't know, be portrayed a little bit better. That's really the only note I have about the match itself. The commercial they ran for the new network programming halfway through the match was pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about some of those shows. Last man standing match for the Intercontinental title. It was Dean Ambrose defending against Kevin Owens in a rematch from their last several months of fighting. This is the only match that wasn't the Rumble match that I was really looking forward to, because I like both these workers and I know what they're both very capable of. And it's just those two styles together, I think, would make, with the added attraction of weapons and last man standing, makes for a more interesting match. And they certainly did deliver. I think this was the, aside from the Rumble, which I'll get to later, this was the best match of the night overall in terms of a one-on-one match. Very tough for the other people to follow for a lot of obvious reasons. I thought that they got off to a very exciting start with the taking out Michael Cole, the announce table, and using the iPad as a weapon and going into the timekeepers area. That was really fun. Yeah, it was just a very physical match overall. I thought the Kevin Owens at the end going through the two tables looked very clean, but it still looked very like powerful. Like, whoa, you know, big spot. Sometimes I think weapons matches can feel very forced if the heat isn't there in a rivalry, or if it's a brand new rivalry and they start out with weapons matches. This happens all the time in Extreme Rules. But this was not that kind of match. This is a match that had a lot of build to it, a lot of fighting between the two over the last several months. So this one made sense, and it was a very good match, and it definitely delivered. So the rest of the people involved were having a very tough time following that after Ambrose won the match. Tag Team Championship match. The New Day defending against the Usos. I feel after this match, let me just get this out of the way, that I think after this match there needs to be something injected into the tag division. Something needs to come up from NXT or something, because they can't be in this holding pattern for the next 70 days going into WrestleMania. You know, it's like the Usos are great, the New Day are great separately, but the fact they've been feuding for a while on and off, I just don't think we can hold that until WrestleMania. There needs to be some other stuff going in there. And, you know, as much as I love the New Day, they can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. The one thing that confused me was when, a couple weeks ago, when Jericho broke the trombone and they made a big deal out of it, how was this more important than the last time the trombone got broken? I thought that was very weird storytelling in terms of that. But then again, I'm probably reading too much into a story about a trombone. So I guess we'll move on from there. The match itself was fine. I mean, I did notice there was two spots they had in the match where they went into the timekeepers area. So it was the third spot in two matches where the timekeepers area was utilized in matches. So I thought that was kind of a bit repetitive. I thought it was going to be the Usos' time. I was figured it was time for them to win the belts, but it didn't happen. I was kind of surprised about that. So maybe they will build into something for WrestleMania. But again, I think there needs to be something in between that rematch between now and WrestleMania. There's got to be something where the Usos are busy with something else and the New Day are busy with something else. They can meet up again at WrestleMania, and it might be fresh, but there has to be something in between there to make it work. U.S. Championship match, Alberto Del Rio defending the title against Kalisto. I don't know if you could say it's a sad thing, but it's definitely something I observed, that it's interesting that it took Sin Cara getting injured for Kalisto to get the singles push that I think he has needed for a long time. I mean, I think it's no secret that WWE has needed a new hot Latin star like yesterday. Ever since Mysterio's been gone, they've needed someone to carry that torch for the Latin community. And Alberto Del Rio just wasn't it. And so now I think it rests on Kalisto. I think they need to show that they put their faith in him and make him that guy. And so I think that when he won the championship on Raw and then lost it a few days later on SmackDown, that was kind of a test to see how fans would react to him winning the title. And I think it was perceived very well, which is why he won it again tonight. The match itself was fine. It was a very good big man, little man matchup. Kalisto made Del Rio look like $1 million. And in reverse, I thought Kalisto, I'm amazed he didn't break his neck when he botched the adios, the flip thing. That was scary to watch. I was surprised by the lack of Bad News Barrett or any of the other League of Nations members in this match, since since Barrett was instrumental in Del Rio winning the title back on SmackDown, I figured there would be some kind of continuation of that, but that wasn't the case. So I think it was very interesting that it was a straight up one-on-one match. But yeah, I'm glad that Kalisto won. I said a couple weeks ago in my video about John Cena getting hurt that one of the people that needs to get pushed is Kalisto, and it looks like it's happening. So yay Kalisto, and hopefully it'll be interesting to see where the U.S. title goes from here. When you consider that, you know, last year it was John Cena who had the belt, and he's John Cena, and then it went from Del Rio, and now it's Kalisto. I wouldn't consider that a devaluing of the title, certainly. It's just interesting that it's now shaking things up. It's not your usual, it's not your traditional people who have the championship holding the belt now. Oh, one thing I did notice was Kalisto kicked out of the same kick that beat John Cena at Hell in a Cell. That was very interesting, and I'm surprised that no one made a mention of that. Well, actually, maybe I'm not surprised they didn't make a mention of that in the commentary. Divas Championship, Charlotte defending against Becky Lynch. First of all, I think Charlotte now, her character is in the position it should have been at 6 or 7 months ago when she first got called up. I think she's a much better heel than a face, especially when she's doing the whole genetically superior thing. Now she has Ric Flair in her corner. I think it's amplified. She wasn't as much of a mini Flair in this match as she's been in the last time I saw her match last month at TLC. So they've backed off on that a little bit, thank God. Becky Lynch has become the face that Paige, I think they tried to make Paige the face diva, and it just didn't work out for one reason or another. I think a lot of it had to do with Paige's personality as a face. I think it was a little too sardonic and sarcastic for people to really embrace as a good guy character. That being said, Charlotte Becky Lynch, it was a good match. I thought it was funny that Becky sold Ric Flair's jacket. Basically, it's like it was almost like a net, you know. Someone put a big trapper's net over her, and she was like, the fact that that was enough distraction for her to let go, the whole I thought was a little silly. But really, the story here isn't necessarily that match. It's what happened after it when Sasha Banks came out and inserted herself as Charlotte's new rival, which again, it's one thing that I think is several months too late. I think they really should have got the ball rolling with that much sooner, but now it seems that they finally put the kibosh on the whole Team Bella, Team Bad thing, and so now it's just, now it's the NXT trio. It's Lynch, it's Charlotte, it's Sasha Banks doing what they should have been doing several months ago. Obviously, there must have been some kind of warming up period for creative. They wanted to make sure they could prove themselves before putting them in this position, so I get that, but I think, you know, but that to me seems almost petty and seemed like wasted months when the fans, a lot of fans know what they're like already from having seen them in NXT, so it would make sense to make that transition a bit smoother. But there you have it. Anyway, I'm excited to see what happens with the Charlotte-Sasha Banks rivalry. Finally, here we are at the Royal Rumble match. You know, I was really nervous, honestly, going into this match, hoping that there would not be a repeat of the previous 2 years where the winner gets booed out of the building and the fans crap on everything happening that doesn't go their way. A viewer wrote into me this last week and said that this match was a combination of the best Rumble, which is 92, and what a lot of people consider the worst Rumble of 99. Because 99 had a very similar situation. It was Austin, #1, against all the odds, against McMahon and the corporation, and this just mirrored that so closely. And the whole part about 92 is that the title was on the line. So there you go. Now, let's talk about what everyone's talking about. AJ Styles coming in at #3. Now, this surprised the hell out of me. I've been on the podcast circuit for the last week, and anyone who's listened to those would know that I didn't really expect AJ Styles to be in the match at all, much less #3. And my reasoning for that is I think that, like I said, when the rumor was first started that AJ Styles, along with Nakamura, were going to go to WWE, it was the thing where it's like, well, okay, here's the thing. AJ Styles has such a reputation, especially among the smart marks, that if, you know, it's basically world title or bust for him. And if he isn't immediately inserted into the world title scene, and if he doesn't win the Rumble match, then it's all, bleh, you know, I'm just going to hate it. That, to me, seemed to be the perspective from a lot of my viewers in the comments section and what I'd been reading online. And to me, that was almost kind of delusional, because it's one of those things where, you know, if he's going to be in the match, then he's probably going to lose. And that's just going to piss a whole lot of people off. And people are going, oh, AJ Styles, I can't believe they jobbed him out. So it was one of those things where it was a catch-22. I think you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So, you know, him being in the match, I was very surprised about. Looking at him in the ring for the first time in a WWE ring, at least first time in a long time, it's like, man, you really get a sense of how small he is compared to guys like Roman Reigns. He was smaller than Jericho, which surprised the hell out of me. You know, but he was over. Fans knew who he was, which shocked me. And so it was, you know, they got him over. They got the good fan pop early in the match, which is what they needed. You know, when he got eliminated by Kevin Owens, I thought, well, takes the heat off of Reigns, because at least it was somebody else who eliminated him. A few other notes I had about the match itself. I thought Jericho, Kane, and Goldust all coming out one at a time. It was just this gauntlet of Attitude Era people coming out. That was interesting. And speaking of Attitude Era people, I mean, I can't believe it's like, boy, they sure like jobbing out Mark Henry these days. I mean, he won the pre-show, but he was out in such quick order in the Rumble match. It was kind of surprising. The fact that Henry and Big Show and Kane were all eliminated so early in the match was almost kind of refreshing, because if you remember last year's Rumble, when Kane and the Big Show pretty much like ruined the experience of the Rumble for a lot of people, the local men, as some message boards went to calling them, you know, it was very refreshing to see these guys who usually take up a lot of time in the Rumble match or play pivotal roles being eliminated so early. So it leaves room for other younger people. Gosh, what a shock. I mentioned earlier about how similar in the build this match was to the Royal Rumble in '99. And brother, they played that to the hilt. I mean, it was executed down to the T when Roman Reigns got pulled out by the League of Nations and beat up and hospitalized and carried off. I mean, the only thing that would have made it more obvious would be if he were beat up in the women's bathroom by the League of Nations. That's how on the nose they were with booking this similar to '99. You know, I mean, it's one way to book the match, I guess. It takes a lot of the heat off Roman. He doesn't have to gas himself being in the match the entire time. He can take some time to rest and then come back. Tells a good story, tells a good beating the odds kind of story. The thing that pissed me off about the more I think about it, just it makes me mad because it's such a wasted opportunity. The fact that Triple H coming at number 30, I saw that coming. I pretty much guessed Triple H was going to win. He was going to be a surprise entrant at the end, and he was going to win the match. I knew that going into it. So when he came out, I was, okay, fine, I get it. Yeah, here we go. But then the announcers just totally failed at selling this like a surprise. They should have been going, what is Triple H doing here? He was hurt. He was hospitalized at the hands of Roman Reigns at TLC. What's he doing here? He is not a full-time competitor. He is essentially a suit now. What's he doing in this match? When I think the last match he had, I think it was WrestleMania 31 against Sting. But that was eons ago, basically. And that was a special occasion. So what is he doing back in the Royal Rumble? And the announcer said, oh, the last time we saw him, he was beat up by Roman Reigns. Well, they needed to play that up a little bit more. They also they didn't play up the fact that, yeah, he was a part-timer. They just went, oh, wow, Triple H, yay, 13-time world champion. And they gave him the same intro that they gave like Chris Jericho and all these other things, where it's like, you gotta be playing this up more. You gotta act like this is a shock. This is almost a travesty that he's in this match in the first place. And what made me more upset, there was a couple things that made me upset. The fact that Roman Reigns did not get eliminated last. I think that would have told a better story than Ambrose getting eliminated last. Not only that, the fact that Triple H eliminated both Reigns and Ambrose clean. And he's supposed to be the bad guy in this situation. Now, obviously, he was cheered when being compared to Roman Reigns. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Roman Reigns got booed tonight. You know, usually the goodwill they've been building up toward him up to TLC and the night after when he won and he was actually over. No, that was all swept away by the time this match happened. So yeah, he got booed. Triple H got cheered. So I get that. But if you're trying to portray him, if the story goes, Triple H is supposed to be the bad guy, then he's got to cheat. He's got to do something nefarious, get the sledgehammer or, you know, pull the tie, literally anything. But he won as clean as a whistle, and it seemed to me very underwhelming. And then the announcers kept selling it like, oh, he's the champion, yay. Not, what is this? He shouldn't be in this match. Like, you know, they're of the opinion that he is, you know, still a full-time competitor, still the almighty Triple H, still no equal. But he only wrestles once or twice a year, and he's a suit. He's the COO. So why is he in this match? It just seems to me it's their refusal. They don't want to use any language that would make him seem older past his prime, and that wound up really kind of screwing up the story. It really wound up screwing the storytelling when the announcers couldn't make a point of that. And they were treating him just like, oh, it's the conquering hero Triple H. And they didn't make any play to the fact that he was a heel at all. And that drove me crazy. And that, to me, didn't ruin the Rumble match. But it certainly put a damper on the ending. But hey, you know what? The silver lining? The winner didn't get booed out of the building. There were no Daniel Bryan chants or CM Punk chants. I mean, wow, the streak has been broken. An actual Rumble match that was received mostly positively. So my final thoughts for Royal Rumble 2016. How are they going to kick off the new year with this pay-per-view? I would have to give it a B grade, honestly. The Rumble match was entertaining. There wasn't a whole lot of surprise entrants, I think, and which is good because I think lately they've over-relied on surprise entrants, much to their detriment of a good story. So not too many there. AJ Styles was the story, was the surprise. Curious to see where that goes from there. The Rumble match was good. The Last Man Standing match was great. The U.S. title match was exciting. The other two matches in the pre-show, I couldn't care less about them. Honestly, those matches were just kind of paint by numbers to me. So yeah, I'd have to give it a B grade. The opener and the main event really buoyed it up for me. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.